now available in paperback and e-readers. Spellbound, A Darker Shade of Black. Get your copy today at your favorite online bookseller. In the aftermath of the election of Donald Trump to the presidency of the United States, many of these white racists and white supremacists feel emboldened. And the reason why they feel emboldened is because of the polarizing rhetoric that Donald Trump used during his campaign and his efforts to support these organizations in order to get out the vote. And in the aftermath of his election, there has been an uptick in hate crimes in America. And while a lot of people thought there was going to be a lot of hate crimes against black people, what you're seeing is a complete effect of hate crimes against Hispanics, against Asians, against Muslims, and against Jews. So when you look at the big picture of emboldening racists, it really hasn't helped to make America a great place. All it has shown is a great truth about how dysfunctional many of these Americans are and how they are so caught up in the fantasy of making America great again, they can't see how these are the people who help make America an unbearable and intolerable place. Now, a lot of these people who have all this hatred for all sorts of minorities and people who practice different religions, they're the ones who are blaming people of color for the dysfunctional state of America. And they also are mad because Barack Obama had 2 terms as president of the United States. 2 terms of president that many white people voted to elect Barack Obama to be president of. So when I sit there and I listen to these racists getting upset, who were getting upset for the past 8 years over Barack Obama being president, what's really sad about it is they helped elect this man by voting for him and then getting mad at him because of the policies he put into place. Now, I have my own grievances with Barack Obama regarding hope and change, but I understand that he wouldn't have been your president of the United States without the support of white people. So all these racists getting upset over Barack Obama being president have to understand there was a majority that elected that man. And the same group of people who feel emboldened to participate in harm against minorities don't really want to take accountability for the people who really caused the economic collapse that happened in 2007 and 2008. Many of these same white people who have all this hatred for minorities and blame minorities for the state of their country don't have the courage or the backbone to confront many of the rich bankers, rich investment bankers, and hedge fund managers which created the complete economic financial collapse of 2008 by artificially inflating the value of homes with the subprime mortgage bubble and other Ponzi schemes. Many of these same racists who are mad at blacks, Mexicans, Jews, and everybody else, these same people will not try to lift a finger or call out for these rich bankers to be held accountable 8 years after they led to the complete collapse, almost near collapse, of the American economy. And none of these same people will go out and lift a finger to protest many of these corporations which pretty much receive most of the benefits by being bailed out by the United States government. They don't want to go after those people because they have a covert contract where if they give those rich people a pass, they can get a pass for their own dysfunctional behavior. And they would rather sit here and blame other minorities for their state and their condition rather than go out and hold those people, those rich people, accountable. Moreover, many of these same white males who are upset about their state and condition here in America also don't want to get in the face of their white woman. Many of these same white males who are mad at the black man and saying that black people, are animals and stuff like that, many of these men have grievances with their female, but do not want to hold her accountable. And the reason why they don't want to hold her accountable is because, again, they want to get a pass for their behavior, and they also want to get their taste of that atomic waste. And because they want that taste of the waste, they're going to sit there and not confront this female about her excessive spending and many of her other consumer habits, which pretty much have driven him to the poorhouse. Because many of these white males are simps, and they believe that the giving this female a pass will allow them to win her favor and get her attention. And because they want to get her attention, they will let her do whatever she wants. And they're really angry at that female, and they've been angry with that female for decades and even centuries. But because they do not have the courage to confront that female, what they will do is then project all of their anger at a black man or a Mexican man or anybody else for so-called taking their jobs and taking their money, when the person who is actually taking their money is that white woman they are married to or that white woman they are dating, when they go out here and spend all this money on her to win her favor and her approval. And because they are trying to win her favor and her approval, they wind up being broke. And many of these guys are so mad at this female, but they don't have the courage to confront her. In the same way, many of these Afro-American Negro men don't have the courage to confront their female about her dysfunctional behavior. They give her a pass and then try to get mad at other people. And I look at this as one of the core parts of how dysfunctional American racism truly is, because many of these racists, they feel emboldened to go out here and harm others, but these are the same people who do not have the courage to go out here and take responsibility for their own lives. And they follow the rhetoric of a guy like Donald Trump talking about making America great again, but they don't want to be great in and of themselves. Again, greatness requires a person to take responsibility for themselves. Greatness requires somebody to take a long, hard, and objective look at their mistakes. And greatness requires somebody to start taking a different course of action. But many in America don't want to take a different course of action. They would rather play a codependent, shuck and jive, blame and shame game where they point fingers at each other, but then never say, you know what, we had a hand in this. Just like American consumers don't want to say they had a hand in screwing up their own economy, not just with the subprime mortgage mess, but by their obsession with imported goods. If they would stop trying to buy all these imported goods and stop trying to, go out and buy your own American goods, maybe your economy would be a lot stronger. Moreover, if many of these employers weren't so cheap and trying to get cheap foreign labor, again, maybe your economy would be stronger. But because most of these Americans don't want to be great, they just want to cut corners, be slick, and they want to create covert contracts. They want America to be made great, but they don't want to make any efforts to make America great. So these racists sit here and they want to play this blame and shame game where everybody else is at fault for their sad state of affairs, but they never want to take a look in the mirror at the person who is causing America to not be great. Because most Americans, as I see it, a lot of them are spoiled, a lot of them are entitled, and a lot of them take life for granted in their own country. They get mad at people of other races, especially a lot of white males get mad, but they don't really want to take a look at their part in things. And they don't want to look at the part of their fathers and their grandfathers and the things that they did in creating that gynocentric state that pretty much gives women passes. And they don't want to confront that female because, again, they want to get their taste to the waist, but they don't want to take any sort of accountability, regarding America. And they want to blame black people, Hispanic people, Asian people, Muslims. Everybody is at fault except the person, there. And that's the big thing with your racist. Your racist, doesn't want to say that, they are the one who is causing many of their own problems. They don't want to take responsibility for anything. Yes, there is racism and discrimination, but most of your racists, especially your white supremacists and your white racists, they don't want to say that they had a hand in things. It's always somebody else's fault. When in America, again, the Constitution says we the people, and you as a person, when you have been given freedom for the life, liberty, and the pursuit of your own happiness, don't take responsibility for that life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. There is nobody to blame for you being in a dysfunctional state but you. And when it comes down to many of these racists, they're feeling emboldened to go out and harm others instead of taking the time to actually go out and make your America great again by focusing on putting yourself first, focusing on you, and stop looking at the next man in front of you or what the other person has, and start focusing on efforts to get your own stuff, and move yourself ahead. And that's just the saddest part, about many of these races being emboldened. They're going out here hurting other people, but they don't see how they hurt themselves, because every effort they make to hurt another person of another ethnicity, what they're doing is actually hurting themselves, because the same corruption that you use to, do injustice to that person of color eventually is going to come back to you, because what's going to happen is those same corrupt people who are in government who gave you a pass will eventually stop giving you a pass when it's time for them to participate in more corruption. Because what's going to happen is the same crime that you got a pass from, somebody else is going to get a pass from when they do it to you. Because again, as the Bible says, you will reap what you sow. And when Americans reap racism and white supremacy, they're going to sow more racism and white supremacy. And when they sow corruption, they're going to reap more corruption. And the sad part is, many of these white Americans and many of these racists don't see what seeds they are placing in the ground, and that are going to grow up to become the thorns and briars that will literally choke all the so-called prosperity they think they're going to get, because they think they're going to make America great again with hatred, but all you're going to do is make America's lives more miserable, because you don't want to take responsibility for your part in making your own country great by doing your part in serving your country, by doing what you need to do instead of doing what you need to do, and stop focusing on what the next man is doing. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.